Good morning, we are on to vlog 201. I want to say thank you so much to everybody who watched last week's vlog, which was a bit of a special for the 200 episode, looking back at like the history of the plot and all that kind of thing. So I hope that's answered a lot of people's questions. I was quite nervous about putting that video out. It's quite a personal video and kind of, you know, looking back at how long we've had the plot. There's one thing kind of making a personal video that's kind of vloggy and like what I'm doing now, but kind of putting that kind of information out. I don't know why, but I felt a bit kind of nervous about putting that video out. Anyway, it's done, it's made, brilliant. We are back to normal service today. I do also have about 260 comments on that video, which I have not got round to answering, and in all likelihood, although I've read every single one of them, answering 260 comments is a good like 3-4 hours work, and whether I'm going to fit that in I'm not sure, but I have read every comment. Having dragged ourselves out of the pit of the 90s, we are back in 2024 and we are rapidly marching through February at the moment. I think it is the 9th today, could be the 8th, but whatever. Time is marching on, and I had quite a lot of things that I wanted to do early February, and that includes sowing, but it also includes potting up. First job of the day though is sowing, because I need to get some more broad beans in as soon as possible. So yeah, first on the list of sowings for February are going to be my broad beans. I'm going to be sowing them into root trainers. Now root trainers are a type of pot that are very, very deep, so they're quite narrow but very, very deep, and the idea of them is that you can get a really, really strong root system, and then when you come to take the plants out, this is a bit tricky when there isn't compost in them, but when you come to take the plants out, you can actually divide the pot in half, so you're not interrupting that really fantastic root system. This is brilliant for things like broad beans that have very strong growth and can get some very serious root system on them quite early. If you sow broad beans into a cell tray, you'll find that, first of all, the broad beans themselves are very large, so they take up a lot of space. They push all the soil out, but their root fires out the bottom really quick, and you'll find it quite difficult to disentangle them, and the seedlings themselves are whoppers. So these are absolutely perfect. This is also the method that I use for all of my beans, like all the climbing beans and the French beans and everything. I always put them in root trainers. This is, however, the first year that I'm using these incredibly fancy root trainers. I actually bought these off Ian at Grown Local. I was well impressed with them. They're proper solid. The old root trainers that I've had for years, and that I know a lot of people have had a lot of trouble with, are so flimsy. Very similar idea, although the two halves don't entirely separate. They're more of a hinged affair. The plastic is so flimsy, and I've managed to hold on to ours, I've got to admit. It's been about 5 or 6 years we've had them, but they're just so fragile that I'm quite excited about trying these much more robust chaps. So yeah, let's get these filled up with compost and the broad beans in. So this will be my second set of broad beans that are going in. The first lot are already out in the bed, and I started the first lot off in the greenhouse, not in root trainers. I didn't have these at the time because they're the ones that I started off in, what sort of time was it? It would have been October time, and I only got these in, well, around Christmas. So this is their first outing. But I had terrible germination with the last lot that I put in. I don't know if you remember, I bought the seed packet from Chapman's, same place that I get the potatoes from, but that they had split. It was the last bag of agua dulce broad beans they had, and they had split, and there was a couple of sort of rotten ones in there. They gave them to me for £1. But germination was rubbish. So I am using a fresh packet of agua dulce that was very kindly given to me by Simon, amongst some other goodies that he sent me. It's funny because agua dulce Claudia is like your absolute bog standard autumn sown or early spring sown broad bean. It's like, it's the most reliable one. Everybody has it. For some reason this year I found it really difficult to get hold of the seed for it. Seems all a bit mysterious. So with broad beans, I mean, I've said this before, but you can direct sow broad beans just straight into the ground. In autumn or spring, they're pretty forgiving. But the problem that I've got with them is that at this time of year, there's so many rodents around looking for a quick meal. And if I just go around burying beautiful broad beans into my soil, I'm just providing a meal for squirrels, rats, mice, the whole lot. Even the crows just dig them up. So I always start my broad beans in trays rather than, you can direct sow them like I say, but I just don't, because I get terrible germination because they get eaten before they come up. These don't require any protection. Like I say, if I didn't have a problem with them being eaten, I could just direct sow them outside. I will start them off inside, but unheated, just in the conservatory downstairs, but that's more for convenience sake. They will germinate much faster in, say, the conservatory than they would if I just put the tray outside. So just get them off to a decent start. But really, this could just go outside in the garden and they would be absolutely fine. They do not need light. They don't need, well, I say they don't need light. I mean, they don't need extra false light. I won't be putting them under my grow lights or anything like that. They are just going to be able to look after themselves. There's a lot of things that we do to sort of manipulate being able to sow things at this time of year. Well, broad beans are not one of them. This is exactly the right time to be sowing broad beans. You can do them in the autumn or the spring. Like I said, I've already got one set in that I started October time. They're already in the bed. But I made a slight error with them in the sense that I was having a lot of trouble getting them germinated because of the old seed. So I had them in the greenhouse for a really long time. The greenhouse was very, very well protected. They got very tall very quickly, as they do, because they're in absolute perfect environment in the greenhouse. By the time I needed to get them out, they were actually a bit soft. So although the plants themselves can deal with really harsh conditions as a genre, the individual plants themselves were just too soft. And they hadn't been battered by the wind. Like if you start the beans outside and they start, the moment they break that soil surface, they're having to put up with the wind and the rain and all of that kind of stuff. So you get really tough little plants. Mine, they were not tough little plants. They were kind of these bowy, bendy buggers. So I stuck them outside. I kind of had to harden them off a bit, which is a bit of a silly thing to have to do for broad beans, but I had to harden them off. Then I got them out, and the moment I planted them out, I realised the really awful weather was coming. That first bit of real cold weather we had about 3 weeks ago, or whatever it was, 4 weeks ago. So I've actually fleeced my broad beans at the allotment, which is ridiculous because they shouldn't need it. It's just that I'd grown mine in suboptimal conditions. So I had some very wet broad beans. Anyway, these ones shall not require any special treatment. I'm going to get them in. I'm going to stick them downstairs just until they've all germinated, or at least the majority of them germinated, and then they will go outside. But I won't be putting them in the ground just yet. I will wait until they're sort of this height to go out. But this is the last lot of agua dulce that I'm going to sow. So these are a really fantastic broad bean. Doesn't matter if you sow them autumn or winter or spring or whenever. Agua dulce Claudia, like absolute classic. However, I do have another variety which is called Eleanor Express, which is a really, really good spring one. So this will be my last sowing of the Agua dulce Claudia. I had planned to do 3 sets, but the second set nothing came up at all, so I've got 1 and 3, which is this one, and then the next one that I do about the beginning of March. Right, that is excellent. I'll go and give these a water. So I've got so much stuff that I've started off that needs potting up. My lettuces that I sowed into little trays, desperate to come out. They've got really leggy and all kind of tied in with each other, so I'm going to rescue some of those. And the onions that we started for the onion grow along with Potty Mouth, they desperately need to be potted up, and I've got to go and get some seed trays from the allotment before I can do that. So that, I think, chaps, is my next port of call. Go and water these and then we will head up to the allotment. Oh, right. Come on, chaps. So I'm well aware that there are a lot of traumatised broad bean haters out there who've had broad beans as a kid and just decided they're utterly revolting. And I really do sympathise with you. But one of the things I'm proudest of that I've done on YouTube is converted a good number of people to the joys of broad beans via this recipe, which I put out, God, must be 2 years ago now because it's back when I had a working kitchen. But please, if you think you hate broad beans and you haven't given them another go as an adult, just grow a couple and try out this recipe and come back to me and see what you think, because I absolutely love them. And for something that's so easy to grow, I just think they're a joy. Anyway, finish watering these in. I'm going to stick them in the conservatory. I'm running out of space in there actually at the moment because we've got all our pots stored in there as well because the cupboards have been ripped out. Oh, that's given me real nostalgia of actually having a kitchen looking at that clip. Anyway, stick these inside. Let's head up the allotment for some more seed trays. Meow. 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 Looks wonderful, doesn't it? Meow, 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 meow. Hello, darling. Morning. Morning. It is looking gorgeous. Look how many bees are on it too. Go on, in we go. Going in. Here we have the fleeced broad beans, these very soft little chaps. You can see in there, they have survived that cold weather though, which is rather good, rather good. So that's the first lot that was sown in October, and this lot that I've just sown this morning will be going in probably the beginning of March, I would reckon. God, it feels damp up here this morning. It's like the whole ground is just like saturated. Absolutely saturated, girlies, it is. I know. Lucky you're nice and toasty dry, huh? Oh, boy, have we had some rain the last couple of days. Look what it's done to my Arctic bells. So the hellebores are high enough that they don't really get got, but look, my beautiful bells. Yes, I know, Lil. Out of the way, madam. Look at my beauties. They've been completely got. Oh, I know, woman. But look at the Arctic bells. We're talking about daffs, madam. Daffs. Look at that. They're so muddy. Oh. Girlie's looking gorgeous. Have we got any eggs today? Any eggs today? One. Mum is completely deaf. I don't know if you remember, it was like just before Christmas, she went completely deaf. And then she went and had something done at the hospital and it kind of cleared it just enough for like Christmas Day. Well, anyway, she's back to being completely deaf again now. So everything is shouting and a lot of confusion. Right, what am I up here for? I'm up here looking for seed trays, aren't I? What the hell have I done with them, actually? Don't seem to have any lying around. I must have hidden them somewhere. By hidden them, I mean put them away. What have I done with the trays, Lil? What have I done with them trays, madam? Hmm? But we want some trays, Lily Maloo, we do. We want some, like, you know, the crappy little small hole trays. I wonder what I did with them, Lil. What have I done with them, Lil? Maybe they're in the netting shed. Do you remember what we've done with all the trays? I think they might be in the netting shed. Netting shed. Yes. Small pots, not these ones, but the trays. Do we have any? Don't think we have any left, do we? I'll have a look. Ugh. Right, I'm not finding any seed trays at the moment, but something I am finding is, you know, I was talking about root trainers. These are the old root trainers. You will have seen these around. They're really flimsy plastic, and to be fair, they've served me very well, but you can see like the upgrade that the new ones are compared to this. Not going to chuck them out though, because I'll probably still use them. I'll probably use them for the sweet peas later on, actually. But yeah, they are now secondary. What have I done with all these blooming seed trays? Do you know what? I actually have a feeling that I might have got rid of them last year. They really annoyed, you know what I mean? Like just the cheap plastic, like cell trays that have got, what, they like 3642 or something in them. I cut my finger a lot last year. I remember that one. They were such crappy ones that we had picked up. But when you put your finger through the bottom to kind of oust your plant, I kept cutting the side of my fingers. I wonder if I just got rid. I might have donated them to, like, we've got a patch up here at the end where, like, if there's things that you don't want, you can leave them up there and someone else always takes them. I wonder if that's what I did, because I can't see them. Something I have found while I've been rooting around in here, though, is my massive 100-litre bag of vermiculite that I thought I'd lost. No sign of the perlite, though, but I've got a feeling I ran out of perlite at the end of last year. I'll just decant some of this into a small bag and take it home. Seems I'm doing all of my potting up and seed sowing at home at the moment. I used to have a nice big bucket for this, actually, but I appear to have also misplaced that. It's terrible when you do a tidy up at the allotment. You just end up losing everything. Our girlie's getting a treat. Look at that Ruby, the rebellious raptor, outside, never where she's supposed to be. Mum, look at Rube. Okie dokie, I've got the vermiculite. We'll pick the chimney wrapper tomorrow. Right, you want to take those? Yeah. Okay. Yep, I think we're all ready. I need to put the tripod back in. That is up there. That's you. Oh, it's raining again. Good morning. Yesterday we never did find those trays up at the allotment, so we faffed around for the rest of the afternoon, and then ended up going to a garden centre just on the other side of town, just a little one, and picked up some other cheap trays, but they're a slightly odd size, so I don't really know how much I'm going to pot up into them. But it is very early, but I've been lying in bed, like not able to sleep, thinking about potting up my lettuces. I know, very sad, but it's why I'm still in my pyjamas, no face, but we're going to do some potting up. Yeah. So these are my lobjoits lettuces. You may remember I sowed 3 on the same day. I sowed these lobjoits, I sowed Webb's Wonderful, and also some corn salad or lamb's lettuce, whichever way you want to call it. These are the only ones that are really at this stage needing to be potted up. The Webb's Wonderful are much, much smaller, but they're on their way. No sighting of the corn salad. Maybe it was old seed. I'll have to re-sow. I'm not going to pot up every single one of these little seedlings. There's 24 slots in this tray, and that is quite enough for one wave of lobjoits lettuces. I'll sow another lot. Once these start coming on, I'll sow another lot, so we'll have a bit of succession. I'll leave the rest of them in the seed tray and just use them as baby leaf rather than these ones, which will actually grow into like proper head lettuces. There won't be another potting up stage between here and them going straight out, either into the ground or the polytunnel, depending on what the weather is doing. These are quite big, these cell trays, actually. There's only 4 in a row, and the lettuces will come on really nicely individually in here, and then they'll be a good size to go out. So that size tray is absolutely perfect for those lettuces, because each one of those will form a proper head, and then I'll be able to plant them out perfect. The other things that I need to plant out are my onions. Now these are the Boxing Day onions. This is Rinsberger, Red Baron and Isla Craig. I've also got Ishikura spring onions in here, but they don't need to be potted up. They'll just come straight out of here into the ground in clumps. The other ones I really want to bring on, like try and make some proper onions out of them, which means that getting them out of this kind of group cell stage. But if I put them in that same size tray that I've just put the lettuces into, I need about 40 trays and I don't have space for that. So what I need is cell trays that have got smaller cells. It means I'm going to have to go to a proper garden centre and actually pick some up. There's always this like do I just go whiz out? Actually, you can't even go to Wilko's anymore. That's where I would have gone. Whizzed out, bought some really cheap, crappy ones, potted them up, and then they wouldn't have lasted very long, but they would do the job. But I think I'm going to have to order some online, get some like some proper ones that I know are going to last. Then I can get the onions out into there and we'll all be good. So talking of pots lasting, remember these. So I talk about these a lot. These are the polystyrene cell trays that we've had for about 30 years. They are fantastic. However, this year I sowed my aubergines, peppers and chilies into these trays. They're an odd size. So these fit perfectly into these reservoirs. We put the capillary matting, or you could just water straight in, and everything is dandy. However, like I say, we've had these for a really long time, and unfortunately, both of my trays that I've got left now have holes in them, and I didn't realise, which means watering has become really, really tricky because these don't fit into normal cell, you know, like just when you just go out and buy a reservoir tray, they don't fit. So I've been having a real hard time watering my seedlings. So the initial one where I gave them all a really good soak, I had really fantastic germination. But from that point, every time I have to water them, I've been taking them off their like setup on their aluminium shelves into the bath, giving them a really good soak in there and then bringing them back in. And it is a pain. It's no good for the plants because it's not consistent. It's no good for me because it's irritating. And I think what I'm going to do now, I've got those sort of intermediate size cells that are too big for the onions but perfect for the lettuces. I think, whereas I would normally leave them in this size tray until they've got 2 true leaves, I think anything that's germinated, I'm going to whip out and put into those trays and just try and rescue the situation rather than leave it, and them having a really harsh wet to dry cycle where they're just not getting enough water. I'm going to rescue them and put them into those trays. Some of them, however, some of the really early ones that germinated super quick, I will just put straight into this size pot because this is where I would normally go straight from the cell tray into here when they've got their 2 true leaves, and some of them are at that stage and I'll do that. But for the rest of them, this will just drown them. It's too big a pot for them, so I'm going to try. Normally I would never have an intermediate stage, but this is a bit of a rescue mission. Yes, so that is next on the agenda. Luckily that's not the end for the polystyrene trays. I mean, I might end up lining them with cling film or something, but also the trays, once I get to the stage that I'm stowing stuff in the greenhouse and we're in those big reservoir trays, it's not going to be a problem. It's just at the moment when I'm trying to do things in my office where all of my electrics are, and when I'm watering and the water's just like cascading off the back of the shelves down into my plug, it's not so great. Anyway, what do we have here that has actually germinated? I have got 5 white knight aubergines and 9 black beauties. I'm really happy with that. That easily covers my aubergine quota for the year. If I do happen to see anything that's grafted like later in the year, a bit more of an exciting variety, I might do that, although the white knight does look pretty exciting. And they're the long skinny white ones. So I'm happy on the aubergine front. In terms of peppers, this is where the lack of watering ease has made the most impact. So anything that came up really quick has come on fine, but keeping them moist to get them to germinate was a little bit tricky. So I am going to re-sow some, it's not too late. But what I have got are 3 lipstick peppers, 2 bullhorns, and then 3 mihaili and 2 Sizgid. But you can see I've had this polystyrene one just in this other plastic tray and it's not reaching the bottom, so we've had some casualties. These ones have been all right, but where it's kind of tipped, and then these ones are just not getting enough water because the trays are not touching the bottom of the reservoir trays. So yeah, a little bit tricky. There's like a big gap between the bottom of the cells and where the water's sitting, and the water's just running off the top. Not so great. But you can see these trays, when I put them in here, there's loads and loads of room. There's also a good lip so that when I'm watering, the water isn't just going to just disappear over the edges into the electrics. No appearance at all from Sweet Bonnet or Frigatello, and they're 2 that I really do want. So I'm going to re-sow some of them. Like I say, it's not too late. It's still early February. Chillies, we've had quite a good turnout actually. I've got one at least of everything I sowed. So I've got 2 lemon drop, 4 orange habaneros, 4 aroma habaneros, 5 of the Koreans, 4 champions, 2 stripy, and 1 boot jolokia. Rescue complete. For the new sowings, I've put the shot glasses over the top just to keep that extra bit of heat and moisture. But that is everything rescued out of the ill-fitting trays. Not ideal, but hopefully successful. And anything which had 2 true leaves has gone into a bigger pot. Also potted up the cucumbers that are coming on really nicely. They went into the big pots too. And there is a little bit of innovation. I've been watching JB's chilli growing expert series, and he had a fan. And so I wanted a fan. And now I've got a fan. So yeah, all of this composting around we've been doing this morning leads incredibly smoothly onto a day trip that I took last week. Couldn't include it in last week's vlog because obviously other things were happening. But yeah, so it may not be every person's idea of a fantastic day out, but I loved it and you're coming with me. So, and while we're there, I'm going to sort my face out, actually get dressed, and I will see you back here. Not in my pyjamas. What an absolutely beautiful little place. It's magnificent. Anyway, I'm waiting to be picked up by some bloke. Yeah, he's running late because I didn't message him back this morning and he thought I wasn't coming. So, bit of a mismatch, my fault entirely. Anyway, how beautiful is this? I've got about 25 minutes to wait, so we might have a bit of a nose around. So this is Kemble, which is in the Cotswolds. And you know, I don't think I've ever been to the Cotswolds before. But it's like, I know what it's supposed to look like. And this is it. Because the Cotswolds is famous for Cotswold stone, which is this kind of limestone. So all the houses, traditionally, are this kind of really beautiful, pale limestone. And this is completely living up to its... So what's this? Oh, look. These are the first snowdrops I've seen of the year. Oh, beautiful, beautiful little things. But yeah, we have absolutely lucked out on the day. It has been raining all week, and then today, it's like this. Actually, I've just realised I'm starting to wander. And I'm going to lose where the station is, which was where I'm meant to be being picked up from. So, yeah, let's not do that, Jessie. Let's not do that. Ooh. Have a look at this. Kemble Community Gardens. Up a mysterious path. How could I resist? It is quite a mysterious path. Actually, this feels a little bit like I'm walking into people's back gardens, but I'm still following the sign. So please don't get lost, Jessie. That's not going to be a good start to the day. But this is so sweet. Yeah, I am actually walking past like the back end of people's houses here. Do. Still got a sign though. I don't know what it means by community gardens. Like, is it an allotment or... Oh man, this is too intriguing, but I'm going to be late. Here we go. Here's the sign. So, well, there's some raised beds. That's a good sign. And through that little gap in the trees over there, I can see an allotment. Okay, well, that really warrants a visit later on, but I'm going to race back to the station because I don't want to miss him. After messing him around this morning with not, so I'm trying not to slip over. After messing him around this morning without, by not messaging, I certainly don't want to keep him waiting at the station. But we'll be back here later on. At least I didn't get lost. I can see the car park of the station. The old tussle. He's here, I'm here, can't find him. I think he's on the other side of the station. Evil! Just jam it in the back of the car.
There it is. Oh, nice.
Oh wow. Let's get a shot of you with the compost.
Gardener's delight.
Wow. Oh my god.
Oh, it is like a proper
It's like the
factory,
promised
isn't it?
land. Does say high vis with no exceptions. Oh look, little baby bags.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, very good.
Well, very official, signing the guest register.
Don't get my address now.
I won't, I can't see it. Well, chaps, you may have guessed, we have got the absolute privilege of being at the Melcourt factory today in Gloucestershire. I am incredibly excited. So both JB and I, you will know from if you watch Potty Mouth, or in fact when we're just potting up anything, we both swear by the Melcourt Silver Grow peat-free compost. There's a number of reasons why, but the main reason that I absolutely love it, and I guess JB is the same, is it is consistently good compost. Now I'm going to just put it out here that Melcourt is not paying us. We're not getting any free compost. They have been incredibly kind to allow us to come along and just have a look around and see why their compost is so consistent and so good. And so I'd like to put a big thank you out to them, because they didn't have to do this at all. And we are both like giddy kids in a playground. So peat-free composts can vary wildly in what's actually in them. But you may have guessed from the name Silver Grow that a large part of the Silver Grow compost is actually a blend of bark and wood fibre. And this ties in with Melcourt's kind of other half of their business, which is very much around decorative bark and bark for keeping animals and play bark, all of these kind of agricultural and landscaping barks. They have a huge array. But the same grade, but
same grade,
yeah.
But hardwood comes out much more regular in shape. So
Yeah.
it's more expensive. It's hard. There's less available, so it's a more expensive material. So it's a higher quality grade than that. More about insulation and weed suppression and also looking pretty.
All of this bark, of all the different species that they've got for all the different uses, are all from sustainably managed British forests, which is a side of things that JB will undoubtedly go further into in his more academic video. But it was really interesting looking at how the calculations are made for the transport costs of all of this material. It's quite remarkable. Something I was quite surprised about actually was the scale of operations here. Oddly enough, I was surprised by how small it was. But equally, I'm surprised by how big the bark chips side of the business is, and just the scale of these mountains of materials. I mean, when we go and buy our little bag of, 50, 60 litre compost, it's quite neat and tiny and packaged, but actually a vast array of what this company does is providing for, large landscaping projects. And also the product that they sell that I am so keen on, the Silver Grow multi-purpose, like just their little bag of compost, is based on one which is widely commercially used and so delivered in huge quantities. So along with the silver fibre, the stuff from the wood fibre and fine bark that they use, the other major component of the Silver Grow compost is coir. So fluffy.
Yeah. The milk and the flesh will be used in the food and cosmetics industries. The shells might also be used, they could be used as exfoliant material.
So while admittedly I am here on just a bit of a jolly and just the pure joy of seeing how my favourite compost is made, JB is going to put out a serious video about what we learned here today, because Melcourt have been incredibly generous with the information that they've provided us to do with their environmental impact, how that's measured and what actually goes into their compost.
That is, I believe, grow bark mixed conifer. So it's a mixed conifer bark fines.
Right.
It's quite wet.
Yep.
So, but that can be, in fact, I think it's probably lockery fines, but that can be used in growing media mixes. It can be used for, some people will buy it to make their own. We'll use it in some of our mixes. This will be used for pot topping. This is eco bark topper. So we'll use it for topping off, for commercial nurseries to top off pots as a weed suppressant. It helps to keep liverworts and mosses down. But it sits quite nicely, it locks into place, and it provides a really, really good surface to sort of, it's permeable, but stops all competition or other things. So yeah,
fantastic.
Nice material.
I really hope the camera picks up.
Right bunch of clowns. But no, what do you think that looks like?
Is that the digester?
Yes.
Is it?
Looks like well-rotted horse manure.
It really does.
In fact,
Yeah, if you hadn't told me that earlier.
Is
I
it nice
would
and
have
warm?
oh
Is it a... Oh yeah. Get in that.
yeah. So that is your digester. So that's what it looks like in its raw form. Now on its own.
Yeah, we've got sausages, and we just had sausages. I've got bloody sausages. Something wrong there, isn't there?
So I've mentioned consistency a couple of times already, but that is what makes Silver Grow so special. And I think they've got two advantages. Is firstly, they have been peat free for more than 40 years, which means that they're not trying to substitute in for the lack of peat. This is what the product originally was. And also, because they provide for enormous, like big professional outfits, that is where consistency is really, really key. Because if you're filling 42,000 pots to grow on small plants, and you have like variation in the compost, you are going to see that on a mass scale, and it's not acceptable. So they've got this kind of double whammy of having been doing it for such a long time, and originally this is how it was, but also for them, because they've been selling on such an enormous scale rather than just small bagged compost, the consistency has been absolutely key for Melcourt from the very, very beginning. Oh yeah, that's proper hot.
Well, that is. I mean, we get them up to 60, 70, 80 degrees at times. It can get very, very hot in there. So, now look at that. Just get the shot. So it's nicer for them to pop. As soon as you put it into a pot, there's not enough mass there
No.
to retain the heat. It just cools down immediately, particularly when it's watered. So,
And here it is. This pile of steaming goodness is finished Silver Grow multi-purpose peat-free compost. Can you see the awe in my body language? This stuff really is remarkable, and sometimes when you see behind the scenes it ruins it for you a bit, but in this case, complete opposite. I have even more respect for the beauty of this compost. I mean, look at that texture. Sometimes you get peat-free compost which is just like wool. This is just perfect. It's beautiful, it's fluffy, it's gorgeous, it's steaming.
we keep them very, very close to each other.
This is amazing.
These are material hoppers. They'll have silver fibre in some of them, coir in others, other good pine bark, whatever it might be. So we have a range of hoppers. But if you like,
Yeah.
each of those hoppers has a small laser sight on it, and you can see it's got a little traffic light on top, so it'll go red, it'll flash red if it's running out.
Okay.
So it alerts them to get on and fill it up.
All of the material is also screened. This is a magnet picking out anything, obviously because it's being stored in a yard, and also because some of the components are recycled. There's the potential for it to have stuff in it, so this is just a little extra safeguard. So heading inside, this is very exciting. This is where it turns from a huge pile of steaming joy into the compost that we use and buy bagged up in the garden centre. As a potting compost, you'd expect it to have some kind of fertiliser in there, and Melcourt used Osmocote, which is a slow release sort of fertiliser, so this is just it being mixed in now. First glimpse of shiny, fresh bags of compost on their little conveyor belt. Sweet little things, look at that. And this, chaps, is pure joy. I'm just going to leave you with a bit of this. Look, so the bag is on a roll and it goes up over the top, and then on this side, look, the birth of the bagged compost. Look, it's even getting a little bum tap to make sure there's no air holes. God, it's like, what's that program? How It's Made? Oh, so satisfying. I could watch this all day. I'm not kidding. So once it's been bagged up, it's then put onto pallets, and I just assumed, foolishly, that they just were stacked onto pallets, but apparently not. There is also an automated machine to make sure that they all fit on the pallets perfectly. Woo!
Obviously no one touches any of the bags here, so they're coming in, they're being orientated around by this little thing here. Yeah, get them all in the right line-up.
Yeah.
Then creating a 2 and a 3. So it'll be a 3 now, and then a 2 afterwards. They have to get the same way. They all go up to little slide doors, like that. So, when you've got a layer of line, put a push them across, push them together, the doors open up. Sometimes you see it all, you can decide if you want to come back and take everything over.
The suspense is killing me. Hey. This is a reverse of a second machine, so they can run 2 different products simultaneously, bag them up as they go. This is actually a product called Farmyard, which is just that pure digestate, so not mixed in with anything else, and it's kind of a manure substitute. But look how the bag is just being folded round and sealed as it's filled. It's quite remarkable. And have a look at this. It's like a big jellyfish going over the top. Actually, the use of plastics and recycled plastics was something we discussed earlier when we were having a talk about the sustainability side of things. So hopefully JB will talk a bit about that in his video, because it is a major component buying bagged compost. Quite interesting to find out actually that they haven't been making small-scale bagged compost for very long here. I think I said it was about 9 years. So actually it being available for home use is really quite a new thing. And as this enormous heffalump manoeuvres its way onto its little turntable and along its conveyor belt and out into the big world, that is about it for our factory tour, chaps. I mean, I love a factory and I love compost, and I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did, because I've had a great time. So huge thank you to Melcourt. And actually, I just alluded to it a minute ago, but looking behind the scenes hasn't destroyed any of the magic of this compost for me. In fact, it has just boosted my utter confidence in it. Yeah, what a lovely day.
Yeah. It's just good to have a connection to kind of talk to people
I can't believe it. Imagine the fences.
Bye everyone.
It was really nice to meet you.
It was lovely.
Train is delayed. So we never got time to go and see that little community garden, which is a shame. But if we come back, we will. But I might go and see if that pub has a half with my name on it. Seems I've got a good half an hour wait. And it's freezing. Sun's gone in. Good evening, chaps. I hope it came across in the video how much fun going to Melcourt was. Huge thanks to JB, because it was entirely off his back that we got to go. He like inquired about it and they said, yeah, come along. And he was like, do you fancy it? I was like, yes. Anyway, it's the first time I'd actually met JB in the flesh. So that was quite exciting. So huge cheers to JB. Thank you so much. Just a tiny word of caution on the Melcourt compost front. There are some places selling it online for hilarious like monies, like 25 quid for a bag of compost. Do not pay 25 quid for a bag of compost. On their website there's like find my local stockist thing. I'll stick the link underneath if you do want it. I mean, there's loads and loads of really good peat-free compost out there. Like, I'm not telling you this is the only compost that you need, it's just one that I love, and I was just thrilled to have the privilege to go and see it being born. But I'll put the stockist thing underneath. But don't pay 25 quid for a bag of compost. It's not the cheapest compost out there, but there's a reason for that. But yeah, don't go paying huge monies for it. Just don't. We got some things potted up this week, but the weather, apart from that one day that we had, not last week, the week before, when we went to Melcourt, it was beautiful sunshine. It has been pants here for like 7 days, and we've got a few more days to go, but after that we've got so much to do at the allotment, and I'm really looking forward to getting a couple of days just like properly stuck in up there, getting all of that compost out, back on compost again, getting all of that compost out of the polytunnel and remeshing that bottom of it. Yeah, it's just so much to do, and I'm really looking forward to all of it. So come on, some sunshine. As always, thank you to the usual suspects, whose names are at the end of this video. I'm eternally grateful to your support, because none of this would be possible without you. So, see you next week, chaps.